What's up, guys? This video we're going to be breaking down my favorite dark horses in the SEC this year. When we talk about the SEC, what comes to mind, of course, is Alabama and Georgia. Both have pretty much dominated their respective divisions for the last 5 to 10 years, Bama even longer than that, 10 to 15 years. Uh, I'm not going to talk about the teams that we all know are, have been good. So I'm going to start off with the SEC West, and uh, you know, obviously Alabama. Texas A&M is a team that gets top 10 recruiting classes every single year, so I'm not going to consider them a dark horse team. Also, Arkansas was another team that I considered placing in the dark horse category, but they're a team that won 9 games last year, returning KJ Jefferson, one of the better quarterbacks in the country. So I decided not to include them in the dark horse territory either. I'm focusing on teams that around that 6 to 7 win category and looking to take a big step forward this year towards like the 9, 10, potentially 10 win season. So um, starting off in the SEC West, the two teams I was really looking at were between Mississippi State and LSU. But this is first year for Brian Kelly at LSU, so I thought that Mississippi State would have the edge actually. Returning a coach that's been there for many years, building that system of Mike Leach. They have Will Rogers, who is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in America. They have a solid running game as well. They returned Jaquavius Marks, who gave them good production last season. Um, we know Mike Leach offense is going to put up a lot of points. The entire starting lineup on defense is upperclassmen, mostly seniors and redshirt seniors. So a lot of football, a lot of snaps being played on that side of the ball. Also, even if you go into the two deep for Mississippi State, pretty much all of their first and second string are upperclassmen, and most of them are seniors. So if there is an injury on the defensive side of the ball, it's not going to be a situation where you're going to have to put in a freshman or a sophomore who hasn't seen or experienced the speed and physicality of the SEC. So I think that Mississippi State is a team that's really going to make a jump this year. They were 7-6 last year. I predict between 8 and 9 wins for Mississippi State this year. But I do think that they're going to be in a lot of close games, and they could surprise the more some of the bigger teams like Arkansas or Texas A&M. I think that they could potentially pull an upset there. They also have Alabama at home this year, which should be interesting. If there's a place to play Alabama, it's definitely going to want to be at home. You don't want to have to go to Tuscaloosa. So I think it'll be interesting to watch Mississippi State and see how their season plays out, because I think that they are a team that's underrated at the moment. When we look across the conference to the other division, the SEC East, I think that it was down to a couple teams. Kentucky is one team that could be say is a dark horse. They're a team that actually won 10 games last year, so I was thinking about picking a team that had a little bit less success. So I ended up landing with Tennessee. They finished 7-6 last year. They did have a win over Kentucky in Lexington, and they're a team that lost a lot of close games. They could have easily won 9-3 last season, or potentially 10-3, especially that bowl loss to Purdue, which was very close and had a couple controversial plays there toward the end. Tennessee is a team that had one of the highest scoring offenses in America last year. They actually predicted preseason number 2 scoring offense in America this season. They got a returning star quarterback, Hendon Hooker, had one of the best QBRs in the nation last season. They returned 4 out of 5 starters on the offensive line. They only lost Cade Mays to the NFL. They've got the number 1 receiver on their team returning, Cedric Tillman. Made a lot of big plays and should be a reliable target for Hendon Hooker in that offense. Jabari Small and Clemson transfer Lynn Dixon should make a pretty formidable 1-2 punch. So the offense should be balanced and unpredictable to play against. The defense returns starters at key positions. Both starting linebackers, Jeremy Banks and Aaron Beasley, return. Also have Javon Mitchell, a Texas transfer, who is gonna potentially push for a starting position and at least maybe in the rotation to take the pressure off those guys in the middle. They also have good production at safety returning with Jalen McCullough and Trayvon Flowers, both very productive players. A senior at corner, Warren Burrell, and they've got some solid recruiting classes the last few years, so they should have some a lot more experience and depth on the defensive side of the ball. I think Tennessee is a team that I predicted to go 9-3 this year. I do think that they're probably going to finish between 8-4 and 10-2. I think 10-2 is the ceiling. I think 8-4 is the floor, minus any devastating injuries to maybe a Hendon Hooker or something like that. But I do think that those two teams are the dark horses in the SEC this year. Keep an eye on Mississippi State and Tennessee. Also, keep an eye on LSU as a very talented team, especially if Brian Kelly decides to go with Jaden Daniels, former Arizona State quarterback, as the number one. I do think that makes that offense a lot better. It makes that team a lot better, and makes the LSU team a team that can immediately contend and push teams in the SEC West. So I do think the SEC West is the toughest division in all of college football, and it's hard to say how that's going to shake out. All right, guys. Looking forward to making some more videos and continuing to break down some potential underdog and sleeper teams throughout the world of college football this season.